I'll never forget the sound of those words. They weren't shouted. They weren't screamed. They were spoken with a quiet, icy certainty that cut deeper than any scream ever could. She's deaf. She's severely impaired. We can't raise a child who can't speak. My daughter-in-law, Tiffany, delivered the verdict standing in the sterile, white hallway of St. Jude's Medical Center. She had given birth only 6 hours earlier. Her hair was still perfectly styled, her makeup barely smudged, as if labor had been nothing more than a minor inconvenience. In her arms, no, not in her arms anymore, in the arms of a gray-suited adoption counselor was my granddaughter, wrapped in a soft, pale pink blanket, sleeping peacefully, completely unaware of the life-altering decision that had just been made about her future. I stood frozen, my hand still half raised as if I could somehow reach through time and space to stop what was happening. My son Marcus was beside Tiffany, his tall frame hunched, eyes glued to the linoleum floor. He wouldn't look at me. He couldn't. The boy I had raised alone after his father died at 42, the boy I had bandaged knees for, helped with homework, cheered at every soccer game. He was choosing silence over his own child. We put her up for adoption, Tiffany continued, dabbing at eyes that showed no real tears. There's nothing you can do, Eleanor. We already signed the papers. It's what's best for everyone. Best for everyone. The words echoed in my skull like a slap. Best for everyone except the tiny human being who had just entered the world and was already being discarded like something defective. Best for everyone except me, the grandmother who had spent 9 months dreaming of her first grandchild. Best for everyone except the baby herself. I tried to move forward, to touch her, to at least brush one finger against that perfect little cheek. The counselor stepped back instinctively, cradling the infant closer. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said in the calm, practiced tone of someone who had delivered this speech many times before. "The biological parents have relinquished their rights. The process is already underway." I watched as they turned and walked away. The counselor's sensible black shoes clicked against the floor. The pink blanket fluttered slightly with each step. They disappeared through the heavy double doors of the elevator. And when those doors slid shut with a soft ding, something inside my chest cracked open. Something fundamental. Something that had held me together through widowhood, through loneliness, through years of quiet survival. It shattered, and I knew it would never be whole again. Let me take you back 6 months, to when I was still a different woman. I was 61. My husband Robert had been gone 3 years. Pancreatic cancer, quick and merciless. The house felt too big, too quiet. Photos of him still hung on every wall, but the laughter had long since faded. My only child, Marcus, was my anchor. He lived 20 minutes away with Tiffany, his wife of 4 years. They were young, ambitious, beautiful, in that polished, Instagram-ready way. When they told me they were expecting, I cried so hard I could barely breathe. A grandchild, after 3 years of coming home to silence, of eating dinner alone at a table built for 4, of waking up to an empty side of the bed. I was going to be a grandmother. The joy was so sharp it almost hurt. I started preparing immediately. I bought soft pastel yarn and knitted tiny cardigans, booties, hats with little pom-poms. I turned the spare bedroom into a nursery in waiting. Crib with white lace bedding, shelves of board books, a rocking chair by the window where I imagined holding her while she slept. Tiffany let me touch her belly during visits. She showed me ultrasound pictures, grainy, black and white images that made my heart flutter. We sat on the couch together planning names. Sophia, Amelia, Charlotte. She laughed when I suggested Eleanor as a middle name. After you? That's sweet, Mom. We were almost friends. Almost. Everything changed in the 5th month. They came to my house one Tuesday evening. Marcus drove. Tiffany sat in the passenger seat staring straight ahead. When they walked in, I knew something was terribly wrong. Tiffany's face was pale, her lips pressed into a thin line. Marcus looked like he hadn't slept in days. I made tea, chamomile, the kind Tiffany liked. We sat at the kitchen table. I waited. "The doctor found something," Tiffany finally said, voice trembling just enough to sound genuine. "The baby. She's going to be born deaf, severe hearing impairment. Profound," they said. My stomach lurched, but not with horror, with concern, with love. "Oh, honey," I reached for her hand. "There are so many resources now. Cochlear implants, speech therapy, American Sign Language. We can—" Tiffany snatched her hand away as if I'd burned her. "I am not raising a defective child," she said flatly. "I am not dedicating my life to that." The room went silent except for the ticking of the wall clock. "Defective?" I repeated, barely above a whisper. "You're talking about your own daughter." I'm talking about my future, she snapped, standing up so fast the chair scraped against the tile. Marcus and I have discussed it. We're giving her up for adoption as soon as she's born. There are specialized families who handle these kinds of cases. I looked at my son, waited for him to speak, to defend his child, to say something, anything. He only nodded slowly. It's the most responsible thing, Mom, he murmured. We're not ready for this. Ready? My voice cracked. I stood too, hands shaking. No parent is ever ready. You learn. You fight. You love unconditionally. You don't just give up. Tiffany gave a short, bitter laugh. You're from another generation, Eleanor. Things were different then. We want a normal, perfect family, not a charity project. Those words lodged in my throat like glass. I stared at them, my only son and the woman he had chosen, and felt something shift inside me. Something fundamental. For the next 4 months, I tried everything. I brought them articles about successful deaf adults, doctors, lawyers, artists. I showed them videos of happy families signing across dinner tables. I offered to pay for every therapy, every implant, every class. I offered to learn ASL myself. I offered to take the baby full-time if they couldn't handle it. Each time, the rejection grew colder. Tiffany stopped answering my calls. Marcus texted once, "Please don't come to the house anymore." Mom, it's too stressful for Tiffany. I kept trying anyway, because inside her was my blood, my granddaughter, and I would not abandon her. They didn't tell me when labor started. I found out from a neighbor who saw Marcus loading hospital bags into the car at dawn. I drove like a woman possessed, ran red lights, parked crooked in the emergency lot, took the stairs because the elevator felt too slow. I searched every maternity floor until I found their room. Tiffany sat propped up in bed, makeup fresh, hair perfect, looking more like she'd come from a photo shoot than delivery. Marcus stood at a small table, signing final papers next to a woman in a gray suit. "What are you doing?" I gasped, breathless from running. "What we should have done from the beginning," Tiffany replied without looking up. "Freeing ourselves of this burden." "She is not a burden," I said. "She is a baby. Your daughter." "She was my daughter," Tiffany corrected coolly. "Now she's someone else's problem." That's when the counselor walked in, holding her. She was perfect. Tiny, dark hair thick and soft, pink lips slightly parted, little fists curled near her face, sleeping as if the world outside hadn't just rejected her. I stepped forward slowly, heart hammering. "Can I hold her?" I begged. "Just for a moment, please." The counselor glanced at Tiffany, who shook her head once. "There's no point getting attached, ma'am. This is already decided." That's when the words came out of me, words I hadn't planned, but words that felt like they had been waiting inside me my whole life. "I'll raise her. Give me my granddaughter. I'll take care of everything." Silence, thick, heavy. Tiffany looked at me with pure hatred. "Absolutely not," she said. "I won't let you turn this into a circus. The girl is going to a real family, trained, capable, not some 60-year-old who doesn't know anything." "I know more than you think," I answered, voice steady for the first time that day. "And I love her more than you ever could." "Love doesn't pay for therapy," Tiffany snapped. "Love doesn't restore hearing. But love gives her dignity," I shot back. "Something you two are denying her." Tiffany rose from the bed with effort, walked over, and looked me straight in the eye. "Listen to me, Eleanor. This child is not your problem. Not your second chance, not your redemption project. We've signed. We've decided. And if you try anything, if you try to block this adoption, I swear you will never see Marcus again. You lose your granddaughter and you lose your son." I looked at Marcus one last time, searching for anything, a flicker of regret, a hint of disagreement. He looked away. My own son. The child I had carried, raised, loved through every storm, choosing her over his daughter, over me. Then the counselor turned and carried my granddaughter away. I stood paralyzed in that hallway as the elevator doors closed. In that moment, I faced the crossroads every broken heart eventually reaches. Give up, accept the loss, return to my empty house and pretend the past 9 months had been a dream. Or fight. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the living room floor surrounded by tiny knitted outfits, unread board books, and a crib still wrapped in plastic. I cried until there were no tears left. And then I made my choice. I was going to find her, no matter how long it took, no matter what it cost. She would know, one day, that someone had loved her from the beginning, that someone had never given up. The morning after the hospital, I woke up on the living room floor, still surrounded by the baby things I had collected with so much hope. Sunlight sliced through the blinds in sharp, accusing lines. My eyes were swollen shut from crying. My body felt like it had been run over by a truck. But inside the exhaustion was a small, burning core of resolve. I wasn't going back to sleepwalking through life. Not anymore. I showered, dressed in the same clothes from yesterday because I couldn't be bothered to choose anything else, and drove straight to Marcus and Tiffany's house. The 20-minute drive felt like crossing an ocean. When I pulled into their driveway, the garage door was already open. Marcus's car was gone. Tiffany's white SUV sat there like a silent accusation. I knocked. No answer. I knocked harder. The door finally opened. Marcus stood there in yesterday's pajamas, hair uncombed, eyes bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "Mom," he said quietly. "It's not a good time." "I need information," I said, pushing past him before he could close the door. "Which agency? What family? Where is she going?" Tiffany appeared from the hallway wearing a mint green silk robe, hair still perfect, looking rested in a way that made my stomach turn. She had already showered off yesterday's birth, already moved on. "You're still on this?" she asked, crossing her arms. "I thought you understood. I will never understand how you could abandon your own daughter." "I didn't abandon her," Tiffany replied, voice calm and cutting. "I placed her in a better situation, with capable people. People who aren't going to die in 10 years and leave her orphaned." The words landed like a fist to the chest. I was 61, healthy, strong, but in her eyes, I was already a liability, already dead. "You're old, Eleanor," she continued. "Too old to raise a child with special needs. Accept it, leave us alone." Marcus put a hand on my shoulder, gentle, pleading. "Mom, please, that's enough. The baby is better off without us. Without you, maybe. Without me." I looked at my son, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. "Then I'm not either," I said, stepping back toward the door. "If that baby isn't part of this family, then neither am I." Marcus's face crumpled. "Mom, don't say that."
Why not?
"It's the truth. You chose comfort, perfection, image. I choose her. The baby you didn't even bother to know." Tiffany laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You look so heroic. But the reality is you have no legal rights. We are the parents." We decided. And we decided that child is not part of this family. I met her gaze without flinching. "Then I'm going to show up as the only person who loved her from the beginning," I said. "And I'm going to make sure she knows someone fought for her." Marcus shook his head, tears welling. "You're making a mistake, Mom." "The only mistake I made was raising you to be such a coward." Tiffany pulled him inside. "Let her go. She'll be back begging for forgiveness in a week." The door closed in my face. I stood on that porch where I had once held birthday parties for Marcus, where we strung Christmas lights every December, where I had believed we were still a family, and felt the last thread connecting me to them snap. "Closed adoption," Tiffany had said. "Confidential. Impossible to trace." She was wrong. The first few days were chaos. I had no roadmap, no plan, only desperation. I called every adoption agency in the city I could find online. Most hung up the moment I said my name. One receptionist was kinder. "Ma'am, if it's a closed adoption, the records are sealed. Even we can't access them without a court order." I went to the Department of Children and Family Services. Sat in a plastic chair for 3 hours, waiting to speak to someone. The social worker who finally saw me was a tired woman in her 50s with kind eyes. "I understand your pain," she said softly after I told her everything. "But legally, as a grandmother, you have no standing. The parents relinquished rights. The adoption is private. I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. Nothing." The word echoed all the way home. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of cold tea and made a list of everything I had. A name I didn't know. A birth date. The hospital. A 6-week-old baby girl who was deaf. And everything I didn't have. Money for lawyers. Legal rights. Time. I opened my jewelry box. Robert's gifts over 40 years. Pearl necklace from our 10th anniversary. Gold earrings from our 20th. The engagement ring I still wore sometimes when I missed him most. I laid them out on the table like offerings. It hurt to imagine them gone, but pain was nothing new. The next morning, I took them to a reputable jeweler downtown. The owner, an older man with gentle hands, examined each piece carefully. "These are beautiful," he said. "Sentimental value?" "Very," I answered. "But I need the money more." He gave me a fair price, almost $8,000. I added it to the dollars. 12,000 emergency savings. I had kept in a high-yield account since Robert died. $20,000. It felt like both a fortune and nothing at all. Then I searched online for private investigators who specialized in adoption cases. Most websites were slick and vague. One name kept appearing in forums for birth parents and adoptees: Damon Wallace, former police detective, Discreet, expensive. I called him that afternoon. He answered on the second ring. Deep voice. No nonsense. Wallace Investigations. Mr. Wallace, my name is Eleanor Carter. I need to find my granddaughter. She was placed for adoption 5 days ago. Closed adoption. The parents won't tell me anything. Silence for a moment. Come to my office tomorrow at 10, he said. Bring everything you know, and bring cash. His office was in a nondescript building on the edge of downtown. 3rd floor, no elevator, just stairs that smelled faintly of old coffee. Damon Wallace was in his mid-50s, broad shoulders, face lined like cracked leather. He listened without interrupting while I told the entire story again. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. I'm going to be honest with you, Eleanor. Closed adoptions are designed to be impenetrable. Sealed records, confidentiality agreements, agencies that guard information like Fort Knox. Finding her will be almost impossible. Almost, I repeated. He gave a small, tired smile. Almost isn't impossible, but it's close. How long? I asked. Months, maybe years. How much? My fee is $200 a week plus expenses. Background checks, travel, bribes when necessary. Those add up fast. I did the math in my head. My savings would last maybe 8 weeks if nothing went wrong. I need to find a job, I murmured. He nodded. You'll need more than one, probably. I left his office with a handshake and the first flicker of real hope since the hospital hallway. That week I applied everywhere. At 61, after 3 years retired, my resume looked ancient. Most places smiled politely and said they'd call. One didn't. A small fabric and craft store on Maple Street called Threads and Treasures needed a part-time clerk. The owner, Mrs. Delgado, was 72 and didn't care about age. You can start Monday, she said. 8 to 4, 6 days a week. Minimum wage plus commission on big fabric orders. Can you lift bolts of cotton? I can lift whatever needs lifting. She hired me on the spot. Every paycheck went straight to Damon, every spare dollar too. He worked methodically. Hospital records, nothing useful, privacy laws. Agency contacts, stonewalled. Courthouse searches for any filings, sealed. He followed leads that evaporated. A family in the next county adopting a deaf infant, wrong age. A private placement through a lawyer, wrong hospital. 6 months passed. Nothing. 8 months. Still nothing. One rainy Thursday evening, Damon called. Eleanor, I've exhausted every contact I have. I can't keep taking your money with no results. I'm sorry. I sat on my couch staring at the wall where a framed ultrasound picture still hung. How much do I owe you for this month? I asked. Nothing. Consider it pro bono from here. But I'm out of moves. I thanked him, hung up, and cried until my throat was raw. When the tears stopped, I washed my face, looked in the mirror, and realized the truth. I had been waiting for someone else to save her. No more. I started over. If my granddaughter was deaf, she would need services, audiologists, early intervention programs, schools for the deaf, support groups. Those places left traces, paper trails, names, faces. I began attending parent support groups for families of deaf children. I sat quietly in the back, listening, looking for any mention of a recently adopted 4-month-old, then 6-month-old, then 9-month-old girl. I visited pediatric audiology clinics, pretending to ask questions for a friend. I volunteered at deaf community events, small festivals, sign language story hours, anything open to the public. And I started learning. One Tuesday evening, I walked into my first American Sign language class at the local community center. I was the oldest student by 25 years. My classmates were college kids, young parents, a few teachers. My hands felt clumsy. My memory wasn't what it used to be. But I showed up. Every week, I practiced in front of the mirror until my arms ached. I watched YouTube tutorials until my eyes burned. I bought flashcards and studied during lunch breaks at the fabric store. My instructor was a deaf woman named Aisha Johnson, mid-30s. Warm brown eyes, hands that moved like poetry. She never once lost patience with me. When I mangled a sign, she corrected gently. When I got it right, she beamed like I'd won an award. One evening after class, when everyone else had left, I stayed behind. Aisha, I said aloud. I still wasn't confident signing everything yet. I need to tell you why I'm here. She sat across from me, nodded. I told her everything. The hospital, the rejection, the search, the promise. When I finished, tears were running down her cheeks. She lifted her hands and signed one word, slow and deliberate. Warrior. I cried then too, because for the first time since that hallway, someone saw me not as a crazy old woman chasing a ghost, but as someone fighting for what mattered. A year passed. Then too, Marcus and Tiffany had another baby, a boy they named Ree, perfect hearing, perfect health. Tiffany posted pictures constantly on social media. Golden-haired toddlers smiling at the camera, family vacations, holiday cards with all three of them beaming. No mention of the first baby. Ever. As if she had never existed. But I never forgot. Every night before sleep, I pictured her face, the one I had seen for only seconds. I wondered, was she happy? Was she loved? Did she have a name yet? Every morning I woke with the same thought. Today might be the day. I was 64 now. Thinner, grayer, hands. Sometimes stiff from signing for hours. But stronger in ways I hadn't known I could be. I volunteered at 3 different schools for deaf children on weekends. I helped at fundraisers, festivals, parent nights. I met hundreds of families. I saw hundreds of little girls the right age. Some had dark hair. Some had my husband's nose. But none were her. Not yet. The toll was visible. Co-workers at the store started asking if I was sick. You look tired, Eleanor. You need to rest. Resting meant stopping. Stopping meant betraying her. So I kept going. One evening, Marcus called, the first time in almost 2 years. Mom, he said, voice tight. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. It's about your health. Tiffany saw pictures online. You look terrible. We're worried. Worried? Now. Mom, please. This has to end. That girl has a family, a life. You're destroying yours for something that isn't real anymore. She is real, I said quietly. She exists every second of every day for me. Silence. Then softer. We forgive you. You can meet Ree, be part of our family again. Forgive me. The rage rose so fast I almost couldn't speak. Forgive me for what, Marcus? For loving unconditionally? For refusing to abandon an innocent child? You chose first. You chose selfishness. I chose love. I hung up and cried again because a tiny, exhausted part of me wanted to say yes, wanted my son back, wanted holidays and birthdays and belonging. But every time the temptation came, I thought of her. The baby I had never held, the child I had never stopped searching for, and I chose her again. Because some promises are stronger than pain. Some loves are worth every sacrifice. And I was only getting started. In the 4th year of searching, something shifted inside me. Not resignation, but a quiet, hard-earned certainty. I had become fluent in American Sign Language. Aisha, my instructor and now dearest friend, confirmed it one evening in her cozy living room after an advanced class. We were practicing idioms, those tricky, beautiful expressions that don't translate word for word. And my hands moved without hesitation. She watched me sign a full story about Robert, my late husband, without a single correction. When I finished, her eyes filled with tears. You're extraordinary, Eleanor, she signed slowly, deliberately. At your age, with everything you've carried, few hearing people ever reach this level. The deaf community sees you, really sees you. I signed back, simple and true. I learned for her. Aisha nodded. And because the community is small, someone will know her. Keep showing up. Keep being you. So I did. I volunteered at more events, deaf festivals, sign language theater nights, family picnics in city parks. I met hundreds more families. I watched hundreds more children, always searching faces for that one birthmark. I had glimpsed on the ultrasound photo Tiffany once let me see, a small crescent-shaped mark just below the left ear. The same one Robert had, the same one Marcus carried, the same one I prayed my granddaughter still had. Time carved deeper lines into my face. I lost 22 pounds without trying. My hands trembled sometimes after hours of signing. My gray hair had turned almost silver. Co-workers at Threads and Treasures begged me to slow down. Eleanor, you're running yourself into the ground, Mrs. Delgado said one afternoon while we folded bolts of flannel. You need to live a little. I am living, I told her. This is living. Then came the October Saturday that changed everything. The annual Deaf Community Harvest Festival was held in a large park downtown. Booths selling handmade jewelry, food trucks with ASL interpreters taking orders, children chasing each other in games of tag conducted entirely in sign. I volunteered at the lemonade stand because it let me see everyone who passed by. I was pouring a cup for a teenage boy when a man approached the table. Tall, about 45, graying beard, gentle eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He signed smoothly. Any orange juice left? I smiled and signed back. Yes, just a few. I'll get you one. His eyebrows rose. You're hearing? Yes, I signed. But I've been learning 4 years. Your signing is excellent. Do you have deaf family? I hesitated, then chose honesty. I have a granddaughter who is deaf. I haven't seen her since the day she was born. I'm searching for her. He studied me for a long moment. Then he signed, sit with me. We found a quiet table away from the music and laughter. His name was Victor. He was a professional ASL interpreter, worked in courts, hospitals, schools. He listened as I told him the full story. The hospital hallway, the closed adoption, the dead ends with Damon, the years of volunteering and learning, the nights I cried myself to sleep wondering if she was safe. When I finished, Victor's eyes were wet. "You're incredible," he signed. "Most families learn the minimum because they have to. You gave your entire life to a child you've never truly met." "She's my granddaughter," I signed simply. "Love doesn't wait for permission." Victor nodded slowly. "I was adopted," he signed. "As a child, I wondered if anyone ever looked for me. If anyone cried for me. I never got that answer. But if we find your granddaughter..." "She will." My heart stuttered. "Are you saying you'll help?" "I can't promise success," he signed. "But I have contacts, specialized schools, audiology networks, adoption support circles for families of deaf children. Adoptions of kids with disabilities often go to a smaller, more connected group of families. That makes them more traceable." I could barely breathe. Over the next 3 months, Victor worked quietly. He asked for every detail. Exact birth date, hospital name, the few scraps Tiffany had let slip about the agency. He reached out through professional channels, never mentioning my name until necessary. Then, one gray December afternoon, my phone rang. "Eleanor," Victor said. "I think I have something." The world narrowed to his voice. "There's a family in Willow Creek, 2 hours north. They adopted a deaf girl 4.5 years ago. The dates line up. The girl's name is Nova. She attends Harmony School for the Deaf." Nova. My granddaughter had a name. "Are you sure?" My voice cracked. 90%. Timing, location, family profile. But you can't just walk in. Legally, she's theirs. If they feel threatened, they could move. You could lose her forever. I spent that night staring at the ceiling, imagining her face at 4.5. Would she have Robert's birthmark? Would she laugh the way Marcus did as a toddler? Would she be happy? The next morning, Victor drove me to Willow Creek. The Harmony School was a cheerful one-story building, painted pale yellow, murals of smiling animals on the walls, children playing in the fenced courtyard. Victor spoke to the director, told her we were community volunteers interested in the school. She gave us a tour, and then I saw her. She sat alone on a swing, gently pushing herself back and forth, yellow dress with tiny white flowers, dark hair in 2 neat pigtails, and there, below her left ear, the crescent birthmark. Unmistakable. It was her. My legs buckled. Victor caught my arm. "It's her," I whispered. Tears poured down my face as I watched her. She jumped off the swing when a teacher signed to her, then ran inside with easy confidence. She looked joyful, loved, whole. Victor guided me back to the car. We drove in silence for 20 minutes before I could speak. "What now?" "We confirm everything," he signed. "Then you decide. If she's happy, if she's loved, you have to ask yourself if your need to claim her is worth disrupting her world." The words cut deep. Over the next weeks, Victor dug carefully. The adoptive parents were Elias and Joy Sterling. Elias taught special education. Joy was a pediatric nurse. They had years of experience with deaf children before adopting Nova at 6 weeks old. Every report Victor found painted them as devoted, patient, exemplary. "They're good people," Victor told me. "Nova has excellent therapy, top-tier schooling, friends. She's thriving." I was glad, truly glad, and heartbroken, but I couldn't walk away. Victor helped me get accepted as a volunteer at Harmony School. My ASL fluency and years in the community made it easy. I started 3 days a week, helping in classrooms, serving lunch, supervising recess. I watched Nova from a distance at first, then closer. 3 weeks in, during recess, she sat alone drawing with chalk. I approached slowly, sat a respectful distance away. She looked up, curious. I signed, "Hello?" Her face lit up. She signed back, "Hello?" "What are you drawing?" "A house, with a big yard, and a dog. It's beautiful." "Do you like dogs?" She nodded vigorously. "I have one. His name is Cloud. He's big and white and sleeps on my bed." We talked about Cloud, about her parents who took her to the park every Sunday, about her favorite color, turquoise. She spoke with such open joy. "What's your name?" she asked. "Eleanor." "And yours?" "Nova, but my parents call me Novi." Novi. My granddaughter had a nickname given with love. "That's a lovely name," I signed, throat tight. "You're lovely too, Nova." She smiled, Robert's smile, and my heart shattered and mended in the same breath. When recess ended, she hugged me spontaneously. Small arms around my waist, head against my stomach. I closed my eyes and memorized the feel of her. My first hug from my granddaughter. Months passed in careful steps. I became the nice volunteer who tells good stories. Nova asked for me during group work. She told me about her life, Elias carrying her on his shoulders at the market, Joy letting her help bake cookies. "They're the best parents in the world," she signed once. They chose me specially. Those words healed and hurt in equal measure. Then came the Saturday I met Elias and Joy. They arrived to pick Nova up early. She ran to them. Elias spun her in the air while she laughed. Joy smoothed her hair with quiet tenderness. Nova pointed to me. "Mom, Dad, this is Eleanor. She's my friend." They approached, warm and open. "Nice to meet you," Elias signed. "Nova talks about you all the time." "Really?" I managed. "All the time," Joy added. "She says you teach her new signs, tell her stories." "You're very kind." I fought tears. Nova is extraordinary. It's a privilege. They asked about my journey into ASL. I gave the safe version: personal interest, love for the culture, commitment to volunteering. "That's admirable," Joy said. "We need more people like you." When they left, Nova hugged me again. "See you Tuesday." I watched them walk away, perfect little family, and stayed behind with my secret. 6 months later, Nova turned 5. Elias and Joy invited me to help plan her party. I decorated, cooked, played games. When she blew out candles, she looked for me in the crowd and signed, "I love you." I signed it back, heart bursting. After the guests left, we sat in their living room while Nova slept. "The therapist says she's ready," Joy said. "At 6 she can understand her origin story." My pulse roared. "Next Saturday," Elias continued, "here in her safe space, with the 3 of us." "How will you tell her?" I asked. "Honestly, age-appropriately, that her biological parents couldn't care for her, but her grandmother never stopped searching. And now you're here. What if she hates me for not coming sooner?" I whispered. "We'll explain," Joy said, taking my hand. "You did everything humanly possible." The Saturday arrived. I wore the brown sweater from the day I told them the truth. Nova greeted me happily. "Are we cooking today?" "Today we talk," I signed. "Your parents and I have something important." We sat, Nova between Elias and Joy on the couch, me across from them. Elias began, explaining adoption gently. Then Joy nodded to me. I took a breath. "Nova, remember I told you I had a son I don't talk to anymore?" She nodded. "That son, Marcus, and his wife had a baby 6 years ago. That baby was you. You are my granddaughter." Her eyes widened. Silence stretched. "Are you my real grandma?" She signed slowly. "Yes, your biological grandmother. Why didn't you take care of me when I was a baby?" "I wanted to," I signed, hands trembling. I begged them. But they had already decided adoption. As a grandmother, I had no legal right to stop it. So I promised to find you. I searched 4 years, learned ASL just to talk to you someday. I never gave up because I loved you before I ever saw you. Nova looked at Joy. "Is it true, Mom?" Joy nodded, tears falling. "It's true, sweetheart." Eleanor searched with a love most people only dream of. "Why didn't my other dad want me?" I chose my words with care. He was afraid of not knowing how to care for a deaf child. That fear made him choose wrong. But it was never about you. You are perfect. Nova sat quietly. Then she slid off the couch, walked to me, and looked straight into my eyes. "Do you still want to be my grandmother?" "More than anything," I signed. "But only if you want me to be." "Can I call you Grandma Ellie?" My heart exploded. It would be the greatest honor of my life. She threw herself into my arms. I held her tight, sobbing into her hair. Elias and Joy cried too, holding each other. The adjustment was slow and beautiful. Nova asked questions about Robert, about Marcus, about her half-brother Ree. I answered honestly, gently. 8 months later, on a quiet Sunday, the doorbell rang. Elias opened it. "Hello," a familiar voice said. "I'm Marcus. I think we need to talk." My blood turned to ice. Marcus stepped inside, older, grayer, eyes haunted. He saw me and broke. "Mom..." "Don't," I said. "What are you doing here?" Tiffany saw a photo online, from a festival. Someone tagged the school. I had to see her. "My daughter." "She is not your daughter," I said coldly. "You gave up that right 6 years ago." Nova appeared in the hallway, curious. "Who is that?" She signed to me. I signed back. "That's Marcus, your biological father." She studied him. No anger, no warmth, just calm observation. "The one who was afraid?" she asked. "Yes. Why is he crying?" "I don't know, love. You'd have to ask him." "I can't," she signed simply. "We don't speak the same language." She turned and walked back to her room. Marcus collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. "What have I done?" "You abandoned your daughter because she wasn't perfect," I said without pity. "Now you live with it." "I want to fix it," he whispered. I want to learn ASL. I want to know her. Please, Mom. That's not my decision, I said. It's Elias and Joy's. They are her parents. Elias spoke firmly. You need to leave. This is too much for Nova right now. If you want a place in her life someday, earn it. The way Eleanor did. Marcus left broken. To my surprise, he tried. 6 months later, he showed me a certificate, basic ASL course completed. It's not enough, I told him. But it's a start. Today I am 68. I still work at the fabric store because I like it, not because I have to. I spend 3 evenings a week with Nova. We cook, read, go to the park. She calls me Grandma Ellie and tells her friends, "This is my grandma." She searched for me 4 years. She's the strongest person I know. Elias and Joy are family now, true friends. We share holidays, decisions, love. Victor is Nova's honorary uncle, the man who made the miracle possible. Marcus visits once a month, supervised, careful. Nova is polite. Forgiving will come, if it comes, on her terms, in her time. Last night, tucking her in, she asked, "Grandma Ellie, do you ever regret searching for me? Everything you sacrificed?" "Never," I signed firmly. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Finding you gave my life meaning." She hugged me tight. "I love you, Grandma Ellie. You are my hero." I left her room with a full heart. I lost 5 years of her life. I lost my son in many ways. I spent my savings, my health, my years. But I gained her love. And if I had to do it all again, I wouldn't change a single step. Because some loves are worth every impossible mile. Some promises are forever. And true love never, ever gives up.